Hello, welcome to this league exhibition match between Minionpawn and Kazumaru. This is a between league season match. There's no official standing result of this, but it's a good way for the two players to stay sharp and get some nice games in between seasons. Kazumaru came in third place in the A division, and they were only a game out of second place. If they'd won one more game, they would be in the championship match. And it was kind of a logjam. Lemon Spawn and Kazumaru both finished with 16, Mick with 17, and Cider with 17 and a half. So very close to being one of the top two players in the league. Minionpawn came in fourth in their B division, so it's a little bit of a step up for Minionpawn. We'll see if they can meet the challenge here against Kazumaru, who's been in A for a couple of seasons now. Usually we click on Stockpile, and I think with Alter around, you just click on Stockpile twice and then get Alter, and then proceed from there. Minionpawn goes for the Scout line, which does let you hit 6, and then I guess you Scout again next turn. But it does mean you're missing a Stockpile from this shuffle. Kazumaru with 4 here. Scouting Party's awkward because you can get both stockpiles on top and discard maybe like Copper Estate, Copper, and the next turn you're drawing 2 stockpiles. Yeah, the downside is we don't even have a single... they bought... Yeah, with the 4 that Minionpawn was able to buy the Lackeys. Sorry, I missed that detail. Kazu doesn't even hit 6 in this shuffle. They bottom decked one of the 2 stockpiles, so that's quite unlucky. I'm not sure what you take here. Maybe you take a stockpile and Scout. I didn't like the... Interesting. Kind of diverging here in what they're doing. I assume we discard and buy another Lackeys. Wheelwright's going to be an interesting pickup here, I think. You may discard an action card. Discard a card to get an action card costing as much or less. So you can discard the Alter to gain any action, and then draw back around and play the Alter, which seems like a nice thing to do. I'm not sure if we're doing minion payload here. I don't know if there's enough minions in the pile once the stockpiles run. You do need to kind of mix it with golds, but you can also do stuff with Secret Passage Chariot Race, or Wheelwright Chariot Race, honestly. If you discard an Alter to gain a gold, you can then play the Chariot Race and you know you're going to hit a 6. I think Kazu doesn't have any... Like, if Kazu had bought a Lackeys up to this point, this would be a very nice turn because we can alter an estate and then spin with the minion. As it is, I think we just play the minion for coins because we really do want to do spin. And maybe we just buy a stockpile here, get those out of exile. Minionpawn is a bit of an easier decision at the end of the shuffle, and they're hitting 10. So they can just buy, minion, stockpile, scouting party or something. I wouldn't be completely averse from Minionpawn to actually buying like second Alter stockpile, second Alter farming village, Secret Passage. Like there's some different lines they can do here. I assume Kazumaru is going to want to take stockpiles here. A pretty significant percentage of their payload is in their exile mat right now. And Kazu, they've both been playing it pretty fast, I think, until this turn. Kazu has paused to think here. The colony points are not going to be nothing. I think Minionpawn is building a little bit faster and could potentially hit 5 provinces to 3. But, if you've got 8 to 4 in Colonnade points, that means you don't need to just do 4 and 4. I kind of believe in Minion plus Scouting Party here. Just reset that shuffle. Maybe you have to discard 1 good card, rarely 2. And we really want to get back around and see that Alter, which seems like the best card to be seeing. Again, I would even consider doing a second Alter here, especially with the 3 villagers. They should be able to use that Alter to get a bunch of minions and then build up their payload that way. Colonnade is in your buy phase, so yeah, so we're seeing Kazu kind of drew their deck perfectly that turn. I mean, really, that was like a perfect deck draw order for them. I'm somewhat surprised they were able to draw their deck so perfectly that turn. I don't like the altars in the bottom after the village. I mean, it doesn't end up being a huge turn, but they spin through the whole deck and get a trash off. Like it's just kind of remarkable how they were able to do that. It's very surprising. They like absolutely 100% need a Lackeys here. It's the best card for the deck. It lets them play the altar before Minion if they haven't seen the Throwing Village like they did this turn. But I think Minionpawn got this Wheelwright a bit prematurely. I don't think there's enough draw yet in the deck. I don't think enough thinning has been done, and there's still stockpiles floating around. I can believe in discarding a stockpile here to take another Lackeys, another border guard. I don't really know what the Wheelwright is for. I thought maybe later it would be useful, but Kazu is just really high rolled this game, and Minionpawn's kind of low rolled it after the initial start. Kazu had a little bit unlucky first shuffle, but as I said, last turn they could have taken a Lackeys. They didn't. They took a border guard, and this turn is sad because of it. So like if they have a Lackeys, the only difference is there's a Lackeys in the deck instead of the border guard, and this altar they can play it right now. Alter it a state into Minion, and then play the Minion for discard. So either they have to give up the altar play, so they don't draw deck this turn because of that. So that just seems like a big error on Kazumaru's part last turn. I don't really need to see what, like, border guard's not doing very much for the deck. Firstly, Minionpawn has underbought minions, despite their name. And as I said, I thought they should have gotten a second altar earlier and not the Wheelwright, but I think getting more minions is good. And they did get kind of unlucky 2 turns ago. They kind of drew a bunch of good stuff all together, and then the Minion and the altar got discarded, so that was pretty unlucky. But I assume we just click on Minion here. We need to spin around and get to our altars faster. Yeah, so this is going to get spun again. So, like, this has been quite unlucky series of events for Minionpawn, and Kazumaru, meanwhile, is just kind of perfectly redrawing their deck every turn. The altar is in the right spot. The minions are in the right spot. They do have more minions, but the altar has just kind of magically been in the right spot most of these shuffles. I would have trashed a copper into Minion and then played the Minion, and there's a Minion in that discard. I think that's a mistake, too. Yes, it's a dirty discard pile, but there's going to be another Minion in there. And that seemed fine. So here we can play the Wheelwright and discard this Lackeys to gain a Lackeys, I suppose. Just as we've got tons of villagers, so we're doing okay. But we are now out of minions in the pile, and Kazumaru has a lot of them. Kazumaru still has not gotten a Lackeys. This is bizarre. I feel like they're getting a little bit luckier this turn. They're making some misplays, and they're drawing their deck in the right order every turn. Wheelwright discarding an estate to get like a border guard or a Lackeys seems pretty nice. I'm not always seeing as Minionpawn why they're taking so many border guards, so I would just keep taking Lackeys and say, I've got tons of villagers and I'm going to alter those Lackeys away later. Spinning is winning, by the way, so that's important to note. So this is a sad turn for Kazu. They've collided all of the minions here. But, I mean, they've got enough. They can just take a bunch of coins. And I assume they're going to start provincing here. Interesting. They're going to spin the whole thing. It's not unreasonable. Oh, they wanted the horn. Okay. Okay. They wanted the horn. This is a little bit of a dirty discard pile. This was it was maybe a bad scouting party. Maybe it's fine knowing that Minionpawn is likely to minion attack you, so triggering the shuffle yourself with extra minions in there is maybe not too bad. And here I think we always just take the minion and discard. I probably, when I looked at that, I would have just taken one minion. I would have taken like the minion and the copper and discarded the 2 minions instead of top decking 2 minions. That seems pretty strictly better to me. And I assume Minionpawn's going to start taking some more farming villages. Maybe they take the stockpiles this turn. That doesn't seem unreasonable to me. What did Kazu buy last turn? They bought an altar. Okay. Just more thinning. We have to be somewhat careful. These piles are lowering. I assume Wheelwright just discard Wheelwright there. I'm not quite sure what exactly the plan is here, but they are getting some Chariot race hits, which is quite nice. That discard pile has in it a Lackeys, a Chariot race, varying things. Yeah, I mean, they're just not thin enough. They still have 5. There's only 7 cards in the trash. So here you discard, yeah, altar. I don't know. I would strongly consider discarding Chariot race, Lackeys, altar, and just daring my opponent not to play a minion discarded draw. In fact, my opponent doesn't know what I've top decked, right? So I don't think it's reasonable that Kazumaru goes a turn without top decking, and even if you do top deck the 2 bad cards, there's a decent chance that you get out of it. So that's what I would have looked at doing there. Minionpawn maybe doing the math out in their head a little bit more advanced than me and deciding, and maybe they know what that third card is down there and I don't. Very possible. But I'm like pretty sure we're almost always being discard attacked here, so top decking at least one of those bad cards made sense to me. Maybe we leave like a state Lackeys on top as a stopgap. And again, Kazu has not picked up a Lackeys. I would alter this copper into Lackeys. I mean, they could have done that at any point, right? Altering a Lackeys into a copper and then keep the turn going. I think they've missed that twice now. I, of course, missed it myself, but I would have bought a Lackeys. But instead of the border guard. And with the colony points are empty, Minionpawn's got a 7-point lead. It's a full province lead. I realize like there's a potential turn where Kazu draws deck and then grabs the stockpiles and then draws all the stockpiles back and 3 piles on stockpiles plus Lackeys or something. Like, it's not unreasonable. Wheelwright is a whole bunch of gains. I feel like Minionpawn has added the pieces and they just haven't quite collided, because I feel like Minionpawn could be 2 turns further advanced than with the shuffles here. But it's hard to say. Kazu had that real bad first shuffle, and since then I felt like their shuffles have been above average. They may be thinking that estate is worse than copper. Copper's worse than estate. I think with Chariot races around, it's reasonable to think that the coppers are worse than estates, and you don't really care about buying, unless you're buying a province here, I guess. If you're not buying a province here, then I think they shouldn't trash the estate. But they elected to buy a province, so. Okay, sad Wheelwright. I'm not sure they should have played that. I think they maybe should have discarded it and tried to get it back around on the other end. But Minionpawn's kind of not forced, but they kind of need to province here. I'm not 100% on that. This is a fairly bad discard pile for them. It is worth noting. So How much have they discarded into there? 2 copper, so 2 coppers, 4 coppers a state, plus whatever got discarded last turn, possibly. So, like, this is maybe an atrocious shuffle. Now, again, I don't think Kazumaru can really get away with not playing it. Oh, and they can do, Minionpawn could do, like, Province Scout here. So, maybe that's fine. And again, I'm probably looking to top deck a bad card or two, because I'm assuming almost every line Kazumaru is playing a minion. I don't know. I think, yeah, I mean, you just have to click Province here. I don't, and I probably would have clicked Scouting Party because I'm a little bit worried about those 6 cards. Kazu has two altars, so if you alter 2 things into stockpiles, that's 5 stockpiles. If you can somehow get 5 stockpiles into play, which is not, you can't really do that. You can get 4 stockpiles into play. That's 12 plus whatever minion coins, and 5 buys. You can empty stockpiles and lackeys potentially. So there's some shenanigans you can do there. Now, I think the issue being you can only get, without lackeys in the deck, you can't get more than 4 stockpiles in play. The way that Kazumaru's deck works, because the only thing that's redrawing is minion. So you're kind of capped at 5 buys. So maybe they don't have a pile out with provinces, but maybe Minionpawn does next turn. Kazu's got Wheelwright, so you can Wheelwright stuff and gain lackeys, and then draw back into the thing, get 5 stockpiles in play, and then you've gained some lackeys as well. So if Wheelwright gains 2 lackeys and Alter gains 2 stockpiles, all of a sudden you're buying stockpile 2 lackeys, and you just need double province, which is 1623, which 5 stockpiles is not enough, but 5 stockpiles and 4 minion plays? It's not impossible. Here we just discard the altar, I assume, or the minion. Okay, that makes sense. So Kazu has decided to play on here. By that I mean they're not going for a pile out this turn. You can play the border guard now and see if you draw something bad. You can just discard the border guard to gain or discard the altar is nice to gain something. Another Wheelwright. Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing it either. The 10-point lead makes a big difference. I assume we discard Chariot Race here to gain a Chariot Race. Meanwhile, I've looked up at Minionpawn's hand and yikes, I will say. It is not really reasonable for them to dud the deck makeup that they have. Yeah, it's not really reasonable. They have a ton of lackeys and border guards and stuff. I may still quibble with them buying a lackeys last turn over a scouting party, because I think this scouting party and then top decking 2 bad cards can be quite nice. Instead, they ended up discarding 5 actions. Ouch. Really? 5 actions? That's brutal. And then reshuffling and drawing 3 treasures. That's what Minion is, like, the most infuriating card in the game, I think. It's not that bad to play against always, but sometimes it just does dumb stuff like you start with 5 good cards and you redraw into 1 good card out of 4. And I think it's a 30-card deck, so it's not thin by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly Kazu can 3-pile over 2 turns. I'm just like, I don't know, I feel like they could be spinning more. I guess they've managed to trash 2 stop cards this turn and gain some more pieces, so their deck's doing okay, but Minionpawn, by the way, is just barely able to get out of this. Ooh, Wheelwright on Province is nice. We can gain something good. We can only gain action cards, but we can gain any action card we want. We can gain another Lackeys, Farming Village, Altar, Wheelwright. I still think the chance where Minionpawn had to buy the second altar, I think they should have put that into the deck. I think they get thin faster, they get more minions out of it. Okay, we'll see if we can hit some. We're going to hit Chariot races. We're not this shuffle because Kazu's got a 5 cost on top. And we're looking for an altar now, so we can alter this estate into something. Stockpiles, perhaps. That makes a lot of sense to me. Alter the estate. Does it? That's maybe lowering too much. Kazu picked up 3 Chariot race hits last turn. Is that right? Even with Minionpawn having a 4 cost on top of the deck? They only picked up 1. And a duchy. Okay, that was where the extra 3 points came from. Gotcha. I guess we take this stock. I guess we take the Chariot race and try to draw into more stockpiles. But I certainly like Kazu's position now. Their deck is in better shape, and the 3 pile out on Chariot races and stockpiles feels pretty easy for them. If Minionpawn doesn't have a pile out here, which I'm just not seeing, then the 3 pile for Kazu is pretty straightforward. And I assume they're taking duchy here, and you spin. Yeah, having the 5 cost on top is pretty key because Minionpawn's hit 3 costs. 3, 5, 4. Yeah. Then again, Kazu doesn't really have many cards left in the deck that are 0 or 1 or 2 costs. Yeah, Minionpawn's going to save 1 stockpile, looks like. Yeah, in the end, Minionpawn is, 1 coin away from a 3 pile here? 2 stockpiles and 3 lackeys. So, with better draws, in theory, Minionpawn could have won that turn. Hey, it was very close. And here, I think we go... I mean, Kazu can go for it here. They can go Farm Village into Stockpile, unexile the stockpiles, then discard with Minion. They're already at 4 coins. They've got a couple of Wheelwrights down there, a bunch more Minions to play. 2 altars, so altering 2 things into duchy, stockpile. I feel like we're getting very close already. So yeah, I would say Farming Village here into Lackeys, and then spin. Or yeah, I mean duchy into Lackeys and spin makes the most sense to me. I still feel like Kazu has not taken a single Lackeys this entire game, which is shocking to me. I feel like they need to be taking those cards. It's such a good card for their deck. I feel like they've definitely missed a couple of spots where they just had to do alter something into Lackeys and then spin with Minion. And Minionpawn's got a copper on top of the deck. That just means Kazu's printing money with every Chariot race play, which is pretty brutal here. There's 2 altars in those bottom 7 cards. I think I would spin here. I would discard and have a Minion in the shuffle. But here we're going to see we can play Wheelwright, discard, Border Guard into Lackeys, and then play Wheelwright, discard, altar into Lackeys probably. We can just discard Province into Lackeys. We do have altars somewhere, right? We maybe discarded them. We do kind of need plus buy for this thing to work. Do we have enough plus buy for this thing to work? Do we have enough draw to loop back around? We've gained a bunch of Lackeys and Chariot races. This is why I thought maybe we shouldn't play this Minion back up here. For plus 2 coins, we should have played it for discard, and then we'd have a Minion in this discard pile. And if we're going to get back around to it, then we'll be able to draw through stuff. I don't know for sure that there's still not a win here. It seems annoying. I would discard this Wheelwright for a Chariot race now, and maybe look to 3 pile on Chariot races, and then buy one province at the end of the turn and win on the Chariot race points. So discard Minion here for Chariot race, and then spin. See what happens. Yeah, I think that should work. Discard, take the Chariot race here, and then spin with Minion. This discard pile's got another Minion in it, a couple of altars, Chariot races, Lackeys. There's a bunch of good pieces in there. If we go, we can actually track what's in there. So 2 provinces, duchy, all the things we gain though. Yeah, and every time we play a Chariot race, we're basically guaranteed to get points. Yeah, so we can now, okay, so now we can alter, okay, this is a win in hand. We just alter 2 things into things, and then the game is over. Yeah, so a bit of a bad roll there for Minionpawn, I think, after a slow start by Kazu. Kazu had a bad roll in the first shuffle. I think Minionpawn had some bad rolls later. I think Minionpawn could have taken a second alter, and Kazu made a couple of mistakes in terms of alter plays. They could have gotten their deck going 2 turns faster, I think, if they altered correctly. But that's first game goes to Kazu, and we move to game 2.